anticipating here after plenty of talks and plenty of negotiations. King, good to see you. Good to have you here. I want to be the first, and I'm telling you, it's a pleasure, and I feel honored to be the first to say, and I tell you, I really feel like I can speak for all of these great wrestling fans. I want to say, welcome back home where you belong to the King, Jerry Lawler. How about that, huh?
Thank you. Thank you very much. You know what I'd like to do. I don't want there to be a misunderstanding. I don't want to, especially after the great welcome and thank you everybody for all the applause and that sort of stuff. But as I said, I don't want anybody to misunderstand why I'm here. I'm here, I guess, basically to explain why I haven't been here. I mean, I'm right. I'm here to talk about. What I want to do is, and the reason I would like to have this opportunity, and I'm thankful to have this opportunity to come out here and talk to everybody, is because, I mean, not a day goes by that somewhere in Memphis somebody doesn't come up to me on the street and say, "Hey, King, don't see you on Channel 5 anymore. Yeah. Why aren't you on the Channel 5 Wrestling?" And so, basically, this is my opportunity to come out here and explain to everybody that is watching, everybody here today, why I am not, and why I haven't been on Channel 5 Wrestling. And quite frankly, if I might go, Corey, you know a lot of this, but maybe go back a little bit in time, and because there are a lot of young people who certainly don't remember, certainly weren't around. It was almost 22 years ago. I walked through the front door of that TV station, or this TV station here on Channel 5, and at that time, wrestling was over on Channel 13.
That's right.
And I came over here, and I met with a gentleman named Phil Slavic, who was the program director, and Maury Griner was the station manager at the time, and they didn't know, well, they knew me from wrestling on TV, but I didn't know either one of those guys. I walked in the front door, and I said, I'd just like to know if you guys would like to have wrestling here on Channel 5. And they took me up into Maury Griner's office, and for the next 22 years, well, for the next 20 years, wrestling enjoyed a great run here on Channel 5. We went through a lot of different station managers, a lot of different program directors. A lot of people probably don't even realize that at that time, I mean, we brought Dave Brown to Channel 5.
Sure did. He was over at Channel 13.
Dave was on Channel 13, and they had the highest rated news because of Dave Brown. And all of a sudden, we bring Dave Brown here 20 years ago, and Channel 5 has the top rated news. And,
that's right.
And for years and years, Memphis was considered the wrestling capital of the world. Memphis Wrestling was the most watched wrestling television show anywhere in the country.
It was the most watched and highest rated in the history of wrestling at one time.
Exactly. And I was so proud to be a part of that, and I felt responsible in a great sense because, it was being a big part of bringing the show here to Channel 5. And there never really was a day that went by that I wasn't proud to say that I was a wrestler and that I was a part of Memphis Wrestling here at Channel 5. But to be perfectly honest with you, a day finally did come when I wasn't proud to be a part of Channel 5 Wrestling. And quite frankly, that's when I left Power Pro Wrestling, and the problem was, that's why I'm here to tell people what my feelings were on a thing. If you can remember back, it hasn't been that long ago, Corey, when there was wrestling talent here in this organization, like, let me just give you an example, Kurt Angle. You remember Kurt Angle?
Oh, yeah.
Kurt Angle was wrestling right here in this ring in Memphis Wrestling, Power Pro Wrestling, and Kurt Angle was an Olympic gold medal winner. I mean, this guy now has gone on to the WWF and is one of the biggest stars ever, and probably will be the next WWF champion. But we had Kurt Angle right here in Memphis. But when Kurt Angle was here, you know who was wrestling in the main events? I'll tell you who it was. It was Randy Hales and Brandon Baxter. Do you remember that? And you're right. I thought that was messed up too. And I can understand that people want to be wrestlers, but sometimes that's all it should be is a dream. I mean, it should be something that maybe you set as your goal or whatever, but people like Brandon Baxter and Randy Hales should never be wrestling in a main event on a television show, or anywhere for that matter. Brandon Baxter ought to be like with the people out here. He ought to be sitting watching wrestling if he wants to be involved in wrestling. He doesn't need to be in a wrestling ring anywhere at any time. And so it was that kind of a situation that I really felt like I wanted to move on to something different.
Yeah. And with all of that, I'm glad you're back with us now, King.
Well, what I'm saying, I'm not back. I'm just here to explain why I'm not back, and it's because of situations like that with the Brandon Baxter thing. And now don't get me wrong. I mean, this is no secret either. I went and I hooked up with another wrestling organization that at the time was wrestling in bars.
Here's Brandon, and I'm sure Brandon's got some response here. Brandon,
I don't really understand what you're doing out here on TV and in front of all these people and to the boys back there in the dressing room, trying to cut me down and trying to knock me in front of the world, in front of everybody who's watching this TV, in front of the millions and hundreds of thousands of people that are watching. Why you came out here for the specific reason to cut me down? What have I ever done to you? What have I done to you that would make you come out here and do this?
Let me just say this, Brandon. Let me make this clear. Maybe it's not really a personal thing with you, Brandon Baxter, so to speak, or maybe it is. But you made a statement just a second ago. You said, "Why have I come out here in front of hundreds of thousands of people?" Well, let me just enlighten you to the facts of life. But I'm not enlightening you because really, Brandon, you know this is a fact. These people may not know it, but I said in the past wrestling was the most watched show in all of the country, and certainly the highest rated show in Memphis television. But it's not that way anymore, Brandon, and it's thanks to people like you. So there are not hundreds of thousands of people watching this show right now. There may be a few thousand, which is the truth and the reality of the situation. And I feel in my heart, as a wrestler who with almost 30 years of experience in this business, I feel in my heart that it's because of people like you and people like Derek King, who weighs maybe 120 pounds soaking wet, and people like Randy Hales in there trying to be wrestlers, that makes the people turn the channel. That makes the people turn off wrestling.
What you're trying to tell me is you're knocking me for being a wrestler when in fact I'm a wrestling manager and it was involved in a situation that led me to the ring. Is that what you're knocking me for being a wrestling manager that's too small? I never knew there was any kind of prerequisite to be a wrestling manager. Never understood that.
Why are you throwing Derek King's name in here? I'm not the reason you're not here on Power Pro. Why are you throwing my name in here? I have nothing to do with any of this.
Yes, you do, Derek. You have something to do with it. Brandon Baxter has something to do with it. But like I said, it all boiled down to the time when I'm sitting back there with people like Kurt Angle, with people like Mick Tierney, with guys who, are let's face it, guys that look like wrestlers, and guys like you guys are up in the ring. Let me ask you this. How much you weigh? Tell the truth.
189 pounds.
You weigh 189 pounds, and I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think you're lying at that. I'd like to put you on a scale. I'd guess you, if you went out to Mid-South Fair, I'd guess your weight as probably about 159 pounds at the most. What the problem is, Derek, is there's a lot of kids in high school that watch wrestling on TV and go out and wrestle in their backyards and would like to be wrestlers, and they're bigger than you are. And instead, we got people like you and Brandon and people up here trying to be wrestlers, and you guys made a joke out of it, is what the problem was, and that's why the ratings went through the floor, and that's why I left. Do you can you not understand that?
Here comes Rob Harlem, the regulators now, so I guess we just got a big meeting going in there now.
Lawler, I'm kind of confused here. You can say what you want about Brandon Baxter. He doesn't look like a wrestler. You can say what you want about Derek King
to be a wrestler either,
because he is a little man. But, hey, I'm 300 plus pounds. I've been to the World Wrestling Federation. I know that I'm a wrestler. I don't care what number.
All right, let me say this. You were Mo in the World Wrestling Federation. You were in the World Wrestling Federation about 100 pounds ago. But you ate yourself out of a job. That's what happened with you. I mean, that's a sad fact. What we got here is a situation. We got a situation of a company full of guys that are wannabes or never wases or has-beens, and that's why I got sick and tired of it. I mean, I can't say any more than that. And as long as people like Derek King, and as long as people like Brandon Baxter, and I don't even know what your name is now. I remember you as Mo.
Here's the general, Coco Beware. And he's got Charlie Laird with him. And here's Coco.
Good to see you. Hey, you know what? I'm surprised that you're here on Power Pro. What are you doing here? That's why I can't believe why you're here. You're supposed to be on WWF commentating. You're not wrestling no more. So, I mean, what? I mean, I know you're a big star. I know you're a big star in WWF, but you got to remember, King, that Coco Beware was a bigger star than you. And I wrestled in the WWF. In fact, I wrestled in probably about 8 WrestleManias. Hey, do I see you wrestling? No, I see you sitting behind the desk. Is that the real King that I'm used to?
All right, Coco, let me say this. You were a big star in the WWF. I remember that. Coco Beware, and you had Frankie sitting there on your shoulder. And you wrestled all over the world.
That's right.
But you know what? Now I see Coco Beware, and not Frankie, I see Charlie. And I see Coco Beware out here with the Army uniform on, trying to do something that the King did back in 1977. Do you remember that? Now, Coco, like I said, man, the problem is it's a situation of people that are wannabes, shouldn't be's. Charlie, you're right where you belong. You're a stooge, and that's all you'll ever be in this business. I'm sorry. I'm telling it like it is, and it may hurt.
Wait just a minute. So what you're trying to say, Mr. King, Mr. WWF superstar, you want to come out here and talk about us, talk about all those guys who work hard like we're peons. Is that it? Well, what I want you to do is I want you to look around you. And I think there's 5 of us. And the 5 of us, what we should do, because we don't want you here, these people don't need you here, we should roll you in that ring. We should beat the crap out of you, and then we should throw you out in the parking lot where the garbage belongs. That's what we should do to you.
Is that right, Coco? That's what you should do? Well, let me say this. You're saying you should roll me in the ring, beat the crap out of me, and throw me out in the parking lot. Because there's 5 of you, and there's only 1 of me. But you know what, Brandon? Let me just say this. You 5 might be able to do that, and you might not be able to do that, because there is only 5 of you and there's 1 of me. But let me say this, and let me make this perfectly clear. If you guys decide to do that, well, then next week, I would bring all of my little WWF friends right here to this TV station. Hey, and you guys can lock the doors, and you can bar the windows, but I promise you, we'll kick them in, and we'll kick the crap out of each and every one of you guys. Do you understand?
Guys, come on. We don't...
I guess we'll just take our chance.
Hey, come on. Hey, come on, guys. Brandon Baxter egging this whole thing on, and now, yeah, they like that. 5 against 1, but look at Lawler. He's holding his own against all of them. Yeah, they want to jump on Jerry. Oh, here comes Colin in. So now that makes it 6 against 1. Lawler taking care. Oh, here's Slash out. Oh, Slash calling for that neck breaker, and yeah, he does it. Puts that neck breaker on Lawler. 6 against 1, rips his shirt off. Come on, guys. This is ridiculous. I'm not gonna. Well, I want to forewarn you what Lawler said, and that was that he'd bring all of his guys and friends from the WWF back next week, and I think these guys apparently didn't hear. Where are they going now? Up against the board back in the back. Well, they're headed toward the parking lot, it looks like. Get him outside. They just busted. It's gone. The glass.